Hello and welcome to the next instalment in our series on the book of Proverbs, focusing on the subject of wisdom. For this session I am going to focus on Proverbs 31 from verse 10, which I'll read to you now. An excellent wife who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like ships of a merchant. She brings her food from afar. She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. She puts her hands to the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle. She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, and all her household are clothed in scarlet. She makes bed coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates where he sits among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchant. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. As we have seen from the previous weeks, wisdom is often depicted in Proverbs as a lady. That is not to say that only women can be wise, or indeed that only women can perform any of the tasks that are detailed here. The depiction of a woman can simply be helpful to use as it becomes something that is relatable to each of us, as it is to do with how one conducts oneself with and around others. When reading this passage, though, about this particular depicted woman, it seems like she is literally a superwoman. She does all the tasks around the house, manages her household, buys fields, plants vineyards, works with her hands, provides food not only for her household, but also for those that she is responsible for, keeps herself strong, which could be perceived as having time to exercise, profitable, generous to the poor, well thought of in her community, and stays up all night making sure that the lamps don't go out. Just reading that list is exhausting. However, when we break it down, I think that we'll find that the list is not so impossible to achieve. She works hard, just as Paul tells us in Corinthians 3, where he says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving." This is about being upright and honest in your work. If you are paid for a job, do it, and do it wholeheartedly, for this is honouring to God. She looks after those around her, as in Ephesians 4, where it says, "Be kind to one another." This is about being merciful to those around you. Every single person has difficulties in their life. No one truly has it easy, and we should always treat people with love and compassion. She provides food for her household and those that she is responsible for, as in 1 Timothy 5. But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. This is about looking after those whom God has entrusted to you. She considers a field and buys it, presumably for a fair price. In Deuteronomy 25 it says, "Use only one weight, a true and honest weight, and one measure, a true and honest measure, so that you will live a long time on the land that God, your God, is giving you. Dishonest weights and measures are an abomination to God, your God, all this corruption in business deals." This is about being honest in your dealings and investing your time, money, and energy in things that will produce fruit. She is strong. As it says in Isaiah 52, "Awake, awake, put up on your strength, O Zion." This is about finding your strength in God rather than relying on your own strength. She is profitable. And in 1 Corinthians 10 it says, all things are lawful, but not all things are profitable. All things are lawful, but not all things build up. This is about doing the right thing to build up those around you, not necessarily about making lots of money. She is kind with her words. In Proverbs 18 it says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. This is about being careful with what you do and what you say. She is generous to the poor. Proverbs 22 says, generous hands are blessed hands because they give bread to the poor. This is about not holding on to earthly riches, but blessing others, standing up for what is right, and fighting for those who are in need who cannot fight for themselves. Her household is well thought of in her community. In 1 Timothy 3 it says, he must be well thought of by outsiders, so that he may not fall into disgrace, into the snare of the devil. This is about having a life of integrity, which will be visible to those around you. Integrity is about being whole, not double-minded, with a soundness of moral character. She stays up through the night to make sure that the lamps don't go out. Well, this to me just is the parable of the 10 virgins, which is told in Matthew 25. Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and slept. But at midnight there was a cry, here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him. And all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, since there will not be enough for us and for you, go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves. And while they were going, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast. And the door was shut. Afterwards the other virgins came also, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered, truly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you know that neither the day nor the hour. This is about being ready for Christ's return at any moment, living a life devoted to him and prepared for his coming. So whilst at first glance that picture of what wisdom looks like seemed a bit overwhelming, in summary it's about being kind to those around you, to not withhold help when we can give it, to be honest and live a life of integrity, to love God and to honour him with our work, to make him our priority. And through all of this, to trust in him, to give us the strength that we will need to make all this happen without burning ourselves out. We can all live a life of wisdom by essentially getting our priorities in order and having a kind and generous spirit. And I want to finish with Matthew 6, where it says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Take care.